Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's webinar titled Accelerating Data Validation with QuerySurge AI. This webinar and demo will focus on QuerySurge's new query intelligence chat interface. My name is Bill Hayduck. I'm the CEO of RTTS, QuerySurge's parent company. I have with me Matt Moss, the QuerySurge's product manager, and Eric Smythe, QuerySurge's director of global alliances. I'll kick off the webinar with a short presentation, followed by a brief demo of query intelligence by Matt, and then some Q&A. The webinar's target time frame is 30 minutes. Our goal is to keep it short and to the point, and we'll provide a recording of the session at a later date. Which reminds me, if you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the Q&A panel. We'll answer as many as we can after Matt's demo. Also, use the chat to alert us if you have any issues seeing or hearing the session. Thanks again for your time and participation, and now we'll begin. Right, so RTTS is the parent company of QuerySurge. It's founded in 1996 in New York City and is a leader in digital assurance and quality engineering solutions. And we specialize in test automation. QuerySurge is RTTS's software division and was launched at Oracle Open World in November 2012. QuerySurge is the leading AI-powered data quality platform that continually automates the validation of data across your entire ecosystem, from data warehouses and big data lakes to BI reports and enterprise apps. Here's the 6 use cases that we support: data warehousing, big data initiatives, data ops pipelines, data migration projects, BI and analytics efforts, and enterprise apps and ERPs. At a high level, QuerySurge can connect to any 2 points simultaneously regarding the source or target. QuerySurge compares each data set and reports which pass and fail, and then QuerySurge updates the data analytics dashboard and data intelligence reports and sends out automated emails to everyone on the team. Here's a typical data flow through an enterprise. The ETL developer codes data movement based on mapping requirements. The data tester tests data based on the same mapping requirements. QuerySurge has lots of ease of use features that get you up and running quickly. We also provide all the training aids and support needed to make you successful. Which brings us to QuerySurge AI. QuerySurge AI, we believe, is a leap forward in how enterprise validate, explore, and trust their data, bringing advanced intelligence to every stage of your data testing lifecycle. So whether you deploy on-prem or in the cloud, your team can speed up test creation and improve coverage with our AI offerings. And QuerySurge provides you with the flexibility to choose the model, infrastructure, and workflow that best fit your organization. We offer 2 generative AI models: QuerySurge AI Mapping Intelligence and QuerySurge AI Query Intelligence. They serve 2 distinct but complementary roles in accelerating data validation. Both are built on QuerySurge's AI foundation, yet each tackles a different challenge in the testing lifecycle. Mapping Intelligence, which was released in June of 2023, bulk automates the creation of complete test suites from mapping docs. And here's some interesting metrics. An average data mapping requires about 1 hour to manually code into an ETL test. QuerySurge AI Mapping Intelligence can convert 200 mappings per hour into tests, so 1,000 mappings can be bulk converted to test in 5 hours versus a human coding them in 1,000 hours. That's a huge ROI. Here's the process. The QuerySurge Mapping Intelligence connects to your Excel mapping doc. It extracts all mappings into the Mapping Intelligence platform. It then converts the mappings into tests and injects the tests into QuerySurge. And now you're ready to test. You're all set up. Query Intelligence, which is our latest release, is a chat interface that provides a conversational schema-aware query generation, and users describe what they want in plain English. Query Intelligence analyzes your schema metadata, understands relationships, and generates ready-to-run tests in a chat-like interface. Query intelligence enables everybody on your team, whether it be analysts, testers, engineers, and business users, to quickly produce high quality tests without SQL expertise. That's important. The end result is it generates individual tests quickly without requiring SQL experts. This opens up tests to everyone on the team, as I said before. Also, we have two deployment models for QuerySurge AI. We have cloud and core. Cloud is, as you would assume, a large language model in the cloud. In this case, it's OpenAI. It requires minimal setup and is blazing fast. Core is installed on premises behind your firewall. It does require server installation, but provides you with full control of your data and compliance. And it can run on either GPUs or CPUs, but GPUs obviously are much faster. So to summarize our AI offerings, we have two modules: Mapping Intelligence, which has been available since June of 23, and Query Intelligence, which we just released. Mapping Intelligence provides bulk test case creation by converting mapping documents into tests, and Query Intelligence generates individual tests from user-friendly prompts. We also have two deployment models, one cloud-based and one on-prem, whichever one you prefer. That's it for me. That was a quick one. If you have any questions on what we went over, remember to post them in the Q&A section. Now Matt's going to provide a demo of our latest AI offering, Query Intelligence. Matt, it's all yours.
Thank you, Bill. Just going to share my screen here. What you see here on my screen is QuerySurge. For those that are not familiar with QuerySurge, everyone that accesses QuerySurge does it through a web-based interface. And I'm just going to log in here with my admin user. And the main concept of QuerySurge is what we call a query pair. It's a set of tests that run against a source and a target, as Bill mentioned. It helps you validate your ETL testing, your migration efforts, and the like. To create a test in QuerySurge, we just click our query pairs right here. And then we click this new query pair button. And I can give any name to my query pair to describe the test that it's going to be running, whether it's an ETL process or a migration related effort. For this example, I'm going to call this QS AI and then 1, just as a sample name. And it's going to automatically open our query pair. For those not familiar, as it sounds, a query pair is a collection of a source query and a target query. They can go against any data source that you have in your environment, whether that is major providers like SQL Server or Snowflake, or even things like flat files, Excels, JSON, and the like. To access QuerySurge AI, we're just going to click this AI button right here, which is available at all of our query levels. So we can generate an AI query for our source query or for our target query if we want. I'll open that up, and it's going to guide us through the process of creating our query without any need to know the underlying technology level, the SQL syntax that's required for that database platform, or a lot of information on how to build those transformations. I'm going to click next here. And what you'll see is we're able to select the connections that are configured in QuerySurge. And this is really important as QuerySurge AI uses that connection to build SQL specifically for that data platform. As many of you might be aware, if you're writing something against a SQL server, the syntax might be different for specific commands when compared to something like Oracle. And what QuerySurge AI will do, it will build SQL specific for the data platform that you're looking to test. This dropdown here is going to be all of the connections that are configured in your particular QuerySurge environment. So these are all of the data platforms that I'm currently connected to. And for my example here, I'm going to select zCity source. And what you'll see is as I hover over it, it'll actually tell me the database dialect. In this case, I'm dealing with MySQL, but I can connect to any data platforms that QuerySurge can connect to natively. You'll see that our dialect functionality has populated here, and you can see it says MySQL. I can override this if I choose and select a different dialect that's available in this dropdown, or I can just type in my particular dialect. Once I have all my information selected, you'll notice that I have a table count and a last refresh. This is incredibly important as QuerySurge AI uses metadata about your database to help build those SQL statements more accurately. You can refresh this at any time by clicking the refresh button right here. But in this particular case, I'm just going to continue on as I know my database is up to date. When I click next here, we'll see the entire schema of the database that I've specified. This is all of the tables and columns associated with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the particular tables and columns that are relevant to my ETL transformation. In this case, I need to pull in 3 tables. They are the sale table, the purchaser table, and the sale item table. To do that, I just scroll down. I can select the particular table, as you can see purchaser right here. I can add an individual column by clicking add all selected columns or all columns in this table. I can do the add button here, but in my particular case, I'm just going to add all for this particular table. I'm going to do the same for the sale table right here. So I'll add all columns in this table. And then finally, I'm going to do this for our sale item right here. And what you can see is the metadata for these 3 tables have now been added and will be used in our communication to our AI module. The information that's provided is only metadata information. That is the schema for this particular table, the table's name, the column, and then the data type. And you can see here the data type is visible if you hover over those particular columns. At no point are we sending the underlying data for your database. That is something that we are thinking about for QuerySurge Core, but currently with QuerySurge, we do not send any proprietary PII information. So you don't have to worry about any sensitive information being sent if you use the Cloud Edition. With Core Edition, all of that data stays within your network as well, so you have that extra layer of security. Once I have all of my particular tables that I want to include in my ETL transformation selected, I will click the Next button right here. And what you'll see is a chat-based interface for QuerySurge AI. We built it as a chat-based interface as it is the most common interface that everyone is used to when dealing with AI-based interfaces. It's very easy to communicate to and allows you to change what you're asking for on the fly, rather than have something that does it without any interactivity. The right top, you'll see a little icon here, and this is just going to show you the metadata that's included in your particular request, so you can reference it as you write your communications. And to ask a question to QuerySurge AI, you just type that right into this chat box here. So in this particular case, what I want to do is I have 3 tables and I want to join them together. To do that is incredibly simple. All I have to say is select all columns from sale, sale item, and purchaser. And then what I can do is I can say to QuerySurge AI, join all 3 of these tables together. So I can say join all 3 tables. And absolutely no information is needed from my side in terms of the join condition. QuerySurge AI is automatically going to scan those particular tables and columns and determine the join criteria for me. I don't need to be an expert in this particular language for MySQL. I don't need to be an expert if it's, say, Oracle or Snowflake. QuerySurge AI is automatically going to determine the join condition and provide syntax that is specific for the database in question. And as you can see here, it is providing us accurate SQL for MySQL. We have our select statement here, where it's selecting all of our columns from each of our 3 tables, which are aliases sale, sale item, and purchaser. And you can see our joins that are occurring here. The join is automatically occurring between sale and sale item on our sale ID, which is our primary key and foreign key for these tables. And then on ID purchaser between our sale and purchaser tables. Now, if I needed to modify this query further, I can ask it to update the query that it just generated. For example, I know in this particular case, I have a field called full name, and I can go over on the right-hand side here, and you'll see it on the right under purchaser. This is a full name, which includes the first and last name of the individual that purchased our item. What I want to do is I want to split this up to first and last name. So I can tell QuerySurge AI to update this query pair. So I'll say update the above query to split full name into first and last by the first space. Not providing any SQL for this particular question. And what QuerySurge AI is going to do is it's going to take this prompt information and automatically update our query to split our first and last name based on the first space available. And you can see that happening right here. So now I have my original 3 tables with all of their data, select start out, but now I have a new field called first name and last name, and these are being triggered with a substring. So it's doing a substring on full name based off of the first space it finds, and it's doing the same for last name, except it is doing it based off of finding that first space and only providing those texts that occur afterwards, which is really useful. And as you can see here, QuerySurge AI is able to generate complex ETLs with plain English. And because we have metadata information and fine-tuned API endpoints, you're able to generate complex SQL for any data platform that you're dealing with. Now, I can take this information and I can copy this directly into my clipboard if I want to paste this into a SQL editor tool, or just have it for a text file to save into. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually click this copy to source editor, and it's going to drop that SQL statement directly into my source query for my query pair. And I'll close this right here. And you can see it dropped that directly in. Now, just to validate this is valid SQL, all I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select a dummy query on my target side. And this is going to cause a failure in the test run because our source is not going to match our target. But if I run this, we'll actually see that it is pulling all of our required information, and it will validate that the data between our source and target matches. In our case, the will not match because of our SQL differences here, because I'm only returning a select one on my target side. But we'll be able to quickly see that this is valid SQL syntax, and you can see it running currently right now. Give this a few seconds just to execute through. And you can see it is informing us about our number of columns. On our target side, we're only returning a column with the value 1. And our source side, we're returning 31 columns, which is a lot. We can view the results here, and I will scroll all the way to the right, and you can see our full name, Amanda Pollard, has been split into Amanda and Pollard. So we know that our SQL syntax that QuerySurge AI generated is correct and accurate, which is really useful. And it doesn't require any technical knowledge of your data platforms. You're able to ask that very specific question to QuerySurge AI, and it's able to generate that SQL for you automatically. If for some reason our query, we wanted to make some type of modification here. Say, for example, we wanted to limit what we are pulling back because our database has just a huge amount of records. Maybe it's loading every day and we have 15 years worth of data. What we can do is we can update any of our existing query pairs. All we need to do is click that AI button again, and our wizard will be prompting us. And I'm just going to click next here. Because I already have a connection set up, it's pre-populated our connection, so we can skip through this. And I'm not going to select any metadata. I'm going to keep it exactly empty in this particular case because QuerySurge AI has the query from our query pair. What you'll see here is it's going to ask if we want to modify our existing query. In my case, I do, so I will write yes. And then we can start asking QuerySurge AI to modify our current query. So in my case, I'm actually going to change this query to find any time where a sale item was greater than $1,000. And to do that, just plain English. Again, I'll just put in a question to QuerySurge AI. So in this case, I'm going to say add a filter where sale item price is greater than 1,000. Click enter. And what you'll see is QuerySurge AI is thinking, it's processing your request. It's incredibly quick. And it has now updated our existing query. Instead of providing all of our products and all of our sales, you can see right away that it has added a new filter condition with our new limitation where all of our item prices has to be greater than 1,000. So you can modify your existing query pairs at any time. So if there's new ETL transformation logic that you need to implement for existing tests that you want to modify later on, you can always go back and do that, which makes it really easy and quick to create different tests with QuerySurge. Again, I can click this save button, and you can see it updated my query pair right here, and I'm good to go to start running these particular tests. So as you can see, QuerySurge AI really speeds up the overall testing process in QuerySurge. It's able to create complex ETL transformations without any SQL knowledge of the data platform that you're doing or dealing with. It allows you to use plain English to ask questions to modify your query pairs or to create brand new ones, which really speeds up the overall testing effort. As Bill mentioned, QuerySurge AI is available in all versions of 14.2 and higher. You can use both our cloud-based offering, which uses OpenAI as the backend, or host this locally behind your firewall for enhanced security. And it really does speed up the overall testing effort. I'm going to pass this back to Bill to
Thanks,
answer
Matt.
any questions that we may have on QuerySurge AI.
We'll now answer questions. Please type any that you have into the chat if you haven't already. Eric Smythe will moderate the question. Eric, it's all yours.
Thank you, Bill, for the presentation overview earlier, and thank you, Matt, for the excellent demo. We'll take the questions as they come in. If we don't get a chance to answer them all, we will try to follow up with everyone for any questions that don't get answered.
But I do see a question in chat that I'll jump on in and answer. And if you have any questions and you're unable to send them, please let us know. You can do a direct question to us as well. So I do see a few of them that have come in. One of the questions is, does the language model need additional training or tuning to be accurate on unique domain-specific data models? And no, it does not. The model itself that we have done is specifically fine-tuned for SQL generation. The only information it does need is that metadata, and you don't need to provide it. You can provide that information in your chat interface. So when we're in QuerySurge AI, as you can see here, if you click the next button, if you provide no metadata here, QuerySurge AI is still capable of analyzing your request. If you don't provide metadata, you just need to provide some of that relationship information. But with that metadata information that we are sending internally, it is able to figure that out. So there won't be any specific tuning that is required for your environment. If you do have very unique join conditions where you have multiple, say, composite keys with other filtering, all you need to do is provide that in plain English, and QuerySurge AI will be able to interpret and understand that. So no specific tuning or training is required. One thing I will mention, and it is something that we're very excited about but is not available yet, is we are going to be allowing you to use your existing models that you have in-house. So if you already have a model that is very fine-tuned and you want to use that as well, even though it's not required, we're going to give you the opportunity to be able to use that as well.
Thank you, Matt. Am I audible now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Another question that came in, can query intelligence also work with files?
Yes. So we have specifically have a few different drivers that are available in QuerySurge that are very unique. They allow you to test CSVs, XML, JSON files, Excel files, and the like. And QuerySurge AI has been specifically tuned in order to generate syntax in those unique platforms. So any of the particular platforms that we provide with QuerySurge, it is able to generate syntax specifically for it.
Okay, great. Next question, can query intelligence handle complex transformations such as multiple joins between tables and complex filtering?
Yes, yes. So as we saw here, I do have a join condition that is occurring across 3 separate tables, and I provided a very rudimentary explanation saying, please join this without any information on the join criteria. QuerySurge AI is able to interpret your request and your model of your data set and do those joins automatically. You can provide additional information, There's absolutely no limitation in the amount of joins that you can put into your particular tests that are generated by QuerySurge AI, and filtering is pretty much unlimited. We haven't run into any situation where QuerySurge AI was unable to generate that particular filter criteria. So as long as you're able to describe it in plain English, QuerySurge AI will be able to convert that to SQL in a very quick and easy way.
Okay, great. Is there any additional cost when using query intelligence with QuerySurge?
There's no cost when it comes to query intelligence. So all environments of QuerySurge come bundled with query intelligence built in. It's part of the licensing for every license that exists in QuerySurge. There's absolutely no cost associated with it. One thing I will note is if you use our core model, which is hosted in your environment, you can hit that unlimitedly. If you do use cloud, we do provide free credits for cloud. If you use your own OpenAI key, there is some cost associated with that processing on OpenAI side, but it's very, very small. We're talking pennies in order to generate a test.
Okay, well, thank you, Matt. We're right up against the time, so I'm going to turn it back over to Bill to wrap up today's webinar.
Great. Thanks, Matt and Eric. That wraps up our Q&A session. Thanks again for your time and participation today. We'll send you a follow-up email with the webinar recording and our contact information. If you have any questions, thanks again and have a great day.